See, sometimes I like to shut Travis up, and I just cancel his feed. And I say, you know what? That's all he's going to say. Sometimes great things come out of bad situations. That's exactly what we had this past week at the U.S. Open. Welcome into another episode of Cash Out with the Coaches. I am the coach. He is one of the great golf instructors in the world today, Mr. Travis Fulton. Trav, welcome to another episode. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's up? What like my son was doing on Sunday, just like he's like, it's like this, Dad, like John Rahm?
That's the John Rahm fist. Yes.
He had it down. It was awesome.
So we're going to talk all about John Rahm. We're going to talk about all of our picks at this week's Travelers Championship, which has an incredible field. And we also have one of the best guests that we've ever had here on the show, the great Peter Jacobsen, who won the Travelers twice in his career. He will be here on Cash Out with the Coaches. And Trav, I cannot wait to hear his stories.
Yeah, Peter's great. He won it, I think, about 19 years apart, too. Peter was a very good player, very steady, tee to green, had his good putting weeks, but he was a steady player. So he knows a thing or two about TPC River Highlands. So it'll be fun to catch up with him.
Yeah, can't wait to pick his brain. He last won it in 2003 was the year that he won his second Travelers Championship. All right, as always, before we look forward, we have to look back. And what an incredible week it was at Torrey Pines. And sometimes stories that play out, you can't even write them because you're like, that would never happen. So let's go back a couple of weeks first. The Memorial. Devastating scene after the third round. John Rahm has a 6-shot lead. He was going to coast to victory. Over $1 million out the window. Positive COVID test. Many were wondering, Trav, would he be eligible to play in the U.S. Open because of protocols? The answer? Yes. And the way he was able to survive and birdie 17 and birdie 18 when every other superstar, except for Louis, was falling off a cliff on the back nine was something to behold. John Rahm wins his first major championship, and he does it in spectacular fashion.
It needed to happen. It needed to happen. John Rahm needed to win that. He was the heavy favorite coming in at 10-1. Look, you bet John Rahm going into that tournament to win. It was pretty black and white that he was going to be there. He is the most, how could I put it, complete player I think we have in today's game. He's the new number one in the world. Dustin Johnson now moves down to number 2, JT 3, and so forth, Morikawa 4. You say those names, and it's like, well, what's the difference? The difference is, I think, with John Rahm, he doesn't have the bottom of his putting isn't so low, right? You can see DJ fall off, be very inconsistent. We've seen JT fall off, be very inconsistent. We know Morikawa struggles. With Rahm, he just feels like the more complete player, all 14 clubs. Now, we know all those other guys can get it going and win. I get that. But I think it's fitting. I do think John Rahm right now is the best player in the world. He proved that at Memorial, 6-shot lead. Couldn't finish it on Sunday. Really unfortunate, but he just kept it going. He came over to U.S. Open. I think the difference for him, though, there were a couple moments where he did get a couple unfortunate bounces. The shot on 3, I think on Saturday, the par 3, and he held himself in there. I think he could have blown up a couple times, and got emotional and threw a shot or two away here or there, but he didn't. He stayed patient. He did what he needed to do on the very difficult holes that we saw, the par 4s. And then all of a sudden, here he is coming into 17, and he captures the moment, right? And he makes the big putt, and then he does it again on 18. And that's the first time that we've seen it, back-to-back birdies to win a U.S. Open. And it's fitting because we saw Tiger make a putt on the 72nd hole to get into the playoff, right? And then here's Rahm, very similar, makes the putt on 17 and 18. Then he's got to wait to see what happens. But I think it felt like he was going to win it. I just love when great players capture the moment like that. Because we see so often those that don't, and we talk about it, but when they do, it's awesome. And Jon Rahm shows the energy just like that.
He's everything that I want in a golfer. I complain about it so much that golfers don't understand the entertainment side and the playing side as well. They have to mesh together. Think about all the things that Jon Rahm has done just at Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
Gets his first win at Torrey Pines in spectacular fashion, pulling that long eagle putt that we've seen a million times, right? And then he asks his beautiful wife to marry him on Torrey Pines. Then on Father's Day at Torrey Pines with his 3-month-old child, his first child, by the way, he walks off the green, grabs the baby, the wife's there, and then he ends up winning the tournament. It almost feels like the memorial was supposed to happen that way.
Yeah.
So that he would get the win this week. But for him to win, a lot of superstars had to fail miserably, and none bigger than what happened to Bryson DeChambeau. At one point, Trav, he was at -5, leading the entire tournament. A chance to go back-to-back as a U.S. Open champion. Then he double bogeys. Then he has a quadruple bogey on the team. And he cost a lot of people, including myself, a whole bunch of money because I had him all over the board in head-to-head matchups. And take the losing the bets aside, that's going to have some scar tissue for him, I think, for a long time.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. We know there's an ego there with Bryson, and he was, Bryson usually doesn't do that, right? He's not going to fade away like that. So it was surprising. I mean, no one saw him shooting 44. I mean, come on.
That was great.
Back nine. There could be, there's going to be a little bit of scar tissue perhaps from that, but I think his game plan, it's not going to change. He's very dialed in on what he wants to do there. It's working. Like the 13th was a pivotal hole. Bryson didn't take advantage of the par fives really at all over the weekend. But yet there he was still 5 under heading into the back nine late on Sunday. 13, he slips, which was problematic. Then he kind of, he whiffs on the layup shot, and then it's over the green, and he just kind of made a mess out of the 13th hole. And the par five, he just didn't take advantage of him. So, but I think he's on the right track there. The bomb and gouge, why not? The U.S. Open, we said it coming in. Look, don't overthink this one. This is the power major championship, and it played out that way with Bryson right there. Now, Louis not exactly overpowering anything, but Louis, arguably, outside of that, is playing some of the most consistent great golf. I mean, no one's surprised to see him there. I hit a top 20 on it, and I said at the time, this could be the safest bet in the history I've made on this show. And it proved out that way. But there's Brooks right there down the stretch. It's a power major championship. And is it getting too much that way, perhaps? Is the U.S. Open, the USGA getting too heavy on length and limiting the field on who can win that tournament now?
Well, there's certainly, and we talked about it here on the show, and it was almost like we were prophetic. We said half the field doesn't have a chance to win, and that's exactly what there was. Half the field that never had a shot. But we also said, to your point, we said it's about bombers, but it was also going to be about big game hunter. And when you looked at that leaderboard on Sunday, at one point it was all the stars in the game. A couple, but I was looking at. I even tweeted out what they showed on NBC. I was like, my goodness, this may be the greatest leaderboard that we've ever seen. The minute I tweeted that out, all of a sudden they just started going. Yeah. They just started double, bogey. Rory McIlroy, at one point, he was right there. Colin Morikawa. I had 2 winning tickets on Morikawa that I played during the week. And at one point, he was right there. So it was an incredible finish, but it also shows just how hard it is to win a U.S. Open and finish the job on the back nine. But Jon Rahm ultimately able to get it done. But I'm a little surprised as we spin it forward now, Trav, to this week's Travelers Championship. And over the years, it's routinely been the tournament that players rate as their favorite. It routinely gets a really good field, despite the fact that it's the week after the U.S. Open, because they go out and pick up the players. They bring them on a private jet. They do everything they can do to accommodate. 5 of the top 10 are here. DJ's your defending champion. Brooks and Bryson are playing this week. You can't ask for anything more than this.
They're going to play together, too. I got a feeling.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's going to happen. It needs to happen. Look, this is a Pete Dye golf course. Here we are back with him, which means it's probably not going to beat you up lengthwise, right? This is 6,900 yards. This golf course. We went from 7,600 last week to 6,900. Okay. I mean, what a difference. Par 70. You've got 2 par 5s. I think the thing to note here is you're picking your players. You've got 9 par 4s between 400 and 460 yards. I've played this course a couple times. And the way I would describe it is it's fun. It's a really fun golf course. And a lot of people can win here. There's different styles that have won here. Bubba, he can see things. He can shape. I think he putts good here. He's a longer hitter that we've seen do very well here. But then you go down and DJ, of course, last year, another guy that can get it out there. But then you have Ches Reavie winning back in 2019, Russell Knox in 2016, Ken the Duke in 2013. Oh, dare I say, Freddie Jacobsen in 2011, one of my favorites of all time. I mean, that's that's a wide range. I mean, all you had to do is look at last year, and you got DJ and Strillman, right? I mean, those guys are polar opposites.
Yeah, you mentioned Strillman too. This is probably a course, Trav. You could argue 2 of the 5, because we say 5 or 10, 2 of the 5 greatest finishes on the PGA Tour ever. Spieth, certainly, and then Strillman birdied the final 7 holes the year that he won to win the tournament. Think about that. 7 birdies in a row to finish the tournament and cash the winning ticket. That's unbelievable.
It is.
And I have Strillman on my board today that we'll get to a little bit later on in the show.
And he's playing good. Strillman is playing some really good golf right now.
He really, really is. Are you surprised that Bryson is playing this course this week?
No, he's got a good track record here. He's got 3 top 10s in the last 3 years. I mean, he clearly.
I'm surprised every year that he plays. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, don't be. I say when you say these Pete Dye courses, shorter courses, the first thing you can think about is, oh, okay, well, the Bombers aren't going to have an advantage here. They can't win here. No, slow down. Like they can play anywhere, right? Bryson has proven that many times. Bryson finished 3rd at the Players Championship, so these guys can play anywhere. Now, does it neutralize their hand a little bit more here? Sure, it does. Yeah, you're not going to see them. They're not going to be able to let it out as much here as they were, say, last week. But make no mistake, DJ won this thing last year. Spieth won it in 17. Bubba's won it 3 times. Isn't there another guy what's his name, that has won this a couple times too, that it might be coming up on the show? I can't remember.
Peter Jacobsen.
Oh, yeah.
Won 2 times. Yes. This was always, this is arguably my favorite non-major week of the year.
Okay.
Because I was at ESPN for 10 years, as many people know. And this is only 20, 25 minutes from ESPN, where all of us live that work there. And so if you're on air at ESPN, you get invited every year to the program. So I probably played it between 10 and 20 times. And fun is a great way to describe it. And it is one of those few courses that you can go on and say, okay, the pros play here, but I can also play here. That's not always the case with these PGA Tour courses. Some of them are just too hard, but not TPC River Highlands. It's the only course in the history of the PGA Tour that has a 58 on it. And that was Jim Furyk.
That's right.
And a 59. That was amazing the year that he shot a 58 on this course. Bubba Watson has a chance, Trav, to join Billy Casper as the only 4-time champion at the Travelers. And every time he's won, it's been at a different stage of his career. And right after his father passed away, he won emotional. And then he continues for some reason. This is very, very comfortable for Bubba Watson. He's north of plus 5,000 this week. If you wanted to sprinkle a little bit on a guy who loves playing this course, there's some real value if you dive in to the odds this week.
You look at the course, like you start pointing out some of them. Guys are going to make some birdies. First 3 holes are gettable. You're going to see guys going 2 under through the first 3. 4 and 5, you better be ready to play because they are tough holes. Par 4, just under 500 yards. The par 5, the par 3 fifth is a big golf hole, 239 yards. Then you get the easy par 5 after that. And then you can kind of you can kind of get it going there. The 10th is a hard hole, but guys will make some birdies really in the meat of the golf course. And then it gets difficult, right after that. 15th is a fun hole, just under 300 yards. The green is perched up, big bank on the right side, water on the left. You go for it. You got to hit the green or be short, or it's a very difficult second, or you're in the water. That's a fun hole. And then the 16th is a short little par 3 that plays as the 5th hardest hole. It's 155 yards. So it's tough. 17's tough. 18's tough. So yes, we're going to see more birdies here. I do like the finish, though, starting with 15, because to me, it just fits that mold of fun, coming down the stretch.
And if you're watching, if you're there on site in person, if you stand in the right spot, you can watch 15, 16, and 17 without moving.
That's right.
Moving, which is awesome.
It is got a little stadium feel to it.
Yep. It absolutely does. So it's going to be a lot of fun this week. Again, 5 of the top 10 in the world are here. Cantlay, DJ, Patrick Reed, Bryson, and Koepka. Mickelson, he's also had a good track record years ago. Right. So here also. And then 10 former winners are here as well. But a person who is very prominent in not being here is Jordan Spieth. According to his website, he's not scheduled to play again until the Open Championship, July 15th. Are you surprised because of, and I know in the heat of the moment, he's like, I'm going to have to buy a house here. I love it here. This is my favorite course. Those were his words when he started coming here back in 2017. So are you a little surprised that he's not playing this week?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. It seems like one more event before the Open Championship seems appropriate, doesn't it? I think Brooks is.
Yeah, I don't like going in between major to major. I don't think you can compete at your highest level that way. 4 weeks off and then going right to another major. I don't get it. But it's not my schedule, obviously. But
yeah, it feels.
He also won the John Deere Classic, and he's not going back there. I think when you're a champion, I guess my point, Trav, is if you're a champion, and also it's such a famous win too.
Yeah,
it's not just like he won it on Sunday by 5. He had to win in sudden death and hold out from the bunker to beat Daniel Berger. It was amazing. I was there. So to not come back and acknowledge that every single year, I don't want to use the word disrespectful, but I will use the word surprising. It's surprising that he's decided to take this off of his schedule, but I'm sure he has his reason.
Oh, I'm looking at his schedule right now. He played the Memorial, then he took a week off, played the U.S. Open. So, he's fresh. He could easily come over here, played this week.
I think he's only
or not this week and play in the John Deere. I think, I'm a little surprised as I look at it that he's not playing in the Travelers. It's a good field. But maybe he feels like there's more work to be done, away. Clearly what they're doing. Spieth is just a fascinating story to me. I watch his swing and it looks, I'll be honest, looks terrible to me, but he's finding it. He's playing good, and I just have to think that camp, like whatever is happening, and you can see the rehearsals and all this, and I get it. And then he swings it and the club is as laid off as it gets. I would have to think they're like, that's kind of not what we're wanting, but God, he's hitting it good. Let's just go with it. You guys cool. Let's just go. Let's go. Let's go. That's kind of like he's finding it again, but I don't think it looks anywhere near what they want it to look like. I just don't. I think he's in a weird spot right now, and perhaps he wants to go back and continue work on it. He hit the ball good at the Open, though. He strokes gain approach. He was 4.5. The driver wasn't quite as clean. But he's clearly trending in the right direction. Would have loved to see one more perhaps before the Open Championship.
Yeah, his first round really put him behind the 8 ball at the U.S. Open. Saturday and Sunday he played very, very well. I did see an interview as I was preparing for the show where he basically said exactly what you just said. He's like, it's not nearly where we want it to be, but I'm getting my mojo back and I'm scoring. And for those reasons, we're happy. But we still have a lot of work to do. All right, so that is your Travelers preview. It's one of our favorite weeks of the entire year. But how do we handicap? What picks are we going to make? That's going to come up in just a little bit. But right now, we are very excited to welcome to the show one of the great golf personalities of all time. He was a great player, played on a couple of Ryder Cups. He's just great for TV, part of NBC Sports as well. Right now, here on Cash Out with the Coaches, let's welcome Mr. Peter Jacobsen. Boy, how thrilled are we to have this week one of the great personalities in the history of golf, and we've got him right here to talk about everything the Travelers and gambling. Peter Jacobsen, welcome to Cash Out with the Coaches.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you? Great to be with you.
We are always great, and coming off the U.S. Open was amazing. Before we get into this week, we've got to get your take because you've been a part of the NBC family for so long, and they had one of the great U.S. Opens this past week with Jon Rahm in a very poetic way, losing at the Memorial, coming back and winning his first major. What was your take on everything that was Torrey Pines in the U.S. Open?
Well, first of all, I'm a West Coast guy, born and raised in Portland, Oregon. I played so many tournaments at Torrey Pines, at Pebble Beach. I love being on the West Coast. And I think Torrey Pines, we saw back in 2008 when Tiger won, what a great golf course that is. What a great facility. It was pretty much unknown to the country until that week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been 13 years since we were back. And when you look at that leaderboard with 6 holes to play, those were future Hall of Famers on that board. And to see the different directions they went, you saw Rory spinning out, you saw Louis Oosthuizen hanging in and then falling off, and Jon Rahm putting himself into some bad places, but then coming through with 2 great birdies on the last 2. I think Torrey Pines is really one of the great golf courses in the country. Again, I'm a West Coast guy. I'm probably biased. But that aside, what impressed me about Jon Rahm, there's never been a question about Jon Rahm with his golf game, with his swing. Travis, he's got an interesting looking backswing. He's short. He's kind of got a bowed left wrist. But, man, he's consistent from tee to green. His driving is never a question. He's long. He's straight. His iron play is pretty accurate, and his short game has always been magical. The question about Jon's game, in my opinion, has been his perspective on the course and his attitude.
Mm-hmm.
When he first came out, he was probably what would be termed as a hothead. He would let bad breaks get in the way of good play. But I think we saw him mature right in front of our eyes last week at Torrey Pines. In fact, while I was doing the telecast, but watching at the same time as a golf fan, I was so impressed by how he handled himself. It's real easy to smile when you hit a great shot. You're up there with a little putt for birdie, and it's easy, and the world's good, and you're blowing kisses and kissing babies. But when you're behind the 8 ball and you've got a really tough bunker shot, or you've hit it to where you know you're going to make bogey or worse, I was just so impressed with the calm that we saw Jon Rahm exhibit. And I think that helped him to win. Now,
yeah,
I think the world is his right now if he can continue with that attitude, because his golf game is never in question. I was really impressed with that performance last week.
Yeah, and you look at the guys around him, Peter, he's moved to number 1 now. Dustin now number 2, JT 3, Morikawa 4. You look at the guys that are around him, all these guys we know can hit it. They've got length. They're good approach game players. But Jon Rahm is, I think, in my estimation, is by far the most consistent putter of all of them. I mean, there's some separation there when it comes to the flag stick with Rahm. And right now, that's the difference to me. He is the most complete player up there because of the flat stick and the consistency of that. Xander at 5 probably could arguably be right there with them. He tends to not have those up and downs with the flat stick, but there's a little runway here for Rahm now. Don't you think that he could perhaps create a little separation if he can just keep this play going, as we saw with DJ, because of the way that he can putt the golf ball?
I agree with you, but I'm going to take you back to when Jordan Spieth won 3 quick majors in his career. And we were all saying that this is the new Tiger. This guy's the next great player. But he's stuck on 3 majors. Why? In my estimation, expectations. When you start expecting yourself to do something, drive it in the fairway, hit it on the green, make a 4-footer, win a tournament, that can tend to get in your head. The worst thing we can do as golfers or as athletes, performers, is to judge. You can't judge your performance. You let everybody else, you let guys like us do that. But what you have to do is you have to evaluate your performance. You look at your driving, you look at your iron play, you look at your pitch game, your wedge game, your bunker game, your putting game. And I think if you can be honest with that, I think you can peak perform over a long time. Jack Nicklaus, Faldo did it for a long time. Norman did it. Tiger. Those are the guys that I think honestly evaluate their game. When you talk about where Jon Rahm is, he is right at the doorstep of being a dominant player. But we've said that before about other players. Remember when Hal Sutton was the next Nicklaus? He was the guy that was going to dominate. So I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to reserve judgment to see how John does in the next 2, next 4, next 5 years. Let's see if he adds to this U.S. Open championship. And I don't care if it's more majors or more tournaments. I want to see him start to dominate 2 to 3 wins a year, kind of like we've seen from DJ. We saw it from Tiger. We saw it from Jack. And then let's set our clocks, and we'll do this again in 5 years. If all three of us are still in the same positions to where we can let us judge, but I want all the players to evaluate their game. Travis, you know that. You're a world-class coach and a teacher. You evaluate your students' games. You don't just judge, oh, that was terrible, that was good, that was terrible. You have to evaluate each performance and break it down.
Peter, we have to be very, very careful whenever we give Travis compliments on this show. We don't normally like to do it. So if you could not do that again.
Okay. Oh, that just popped in. I see that. See that text from you. Don't compliment Travis. Got it. Okay.
All right. Well, you mentioned the name Jordan Spieth, and that's a great name to spin it forward to this week. Because I was there a few years ago when, in my opinion, it was the greatest finish in Travelers history for sure. But I think it's one of the greatest finishes in golf history when he holed out from the bunker in sudden death over Daniel Berger. It was amazing. But you've won this event 2 times. You may have looked a little different between the first and the second time that you won it in the 80s and in the 03 year. But this week, and historically, they get such a great field. But it's a week after a major. Those 2 things don't match up. Why does this course and this tournament get such a great field?
The community. The one thing that I always felt when I first started in 1977, which is just a few years ago, the community support at Hartford for the Travelers is off the charts. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and to me, my wife and I always talked about Hartford being as close to Portland in terms of the atmosphere and the community feel from all the residents. Hartford and Portland were about as close as you could get. Now, Portland has deteriorated a little bit lately in the political spectrum. Well, we can get into that maybe another time. But still, to this day, the support that we feel at the Travelers is incredible. The players feel like they live there. Everybody you see, everybody you talk to, they welcome you. When you're out to dinner, when you're sending a package, FedEx or UPS, and they know that you come up in a courtesy car that says Travelers, you feel welcome. You feel a part of the community. And I don't think there's a better community on tour today, to this day. And that would span a long time for me back in when I first won there. To this day now, that embraces the players and the tournaments like that Hartford Travelers group. So I think that more than anything, I remember feeling a part of the community.
Talk about the golf course, Peter. TPC River Highlands. It's, by the way, 1977. That was the year I was born. Anyway.
Great. Thanks a lot. Okay.
Wow.
I'm no longer saying that.
See,
You're
Peter,
done,
this
Travis.
Is what he does. This is what he does.
The course, like Torrey Pines last week, 7,600, big ballpark. This week, it's just under 6,900. It's not a long golf course. Guys are going to hit more fairways and greens, of course, than we saw last year. But any kind of style really can win here. Bubba's won 3 times. DJ won here. But then you go to the other side. Ches Reavie won here 2 years ago. Kenny Duke has won here. So you don't have to overpower the golf course. The course kind of lends itself to different kinds of play. Speak to TPC River Highlands a little bit and what we're expecting here this week.
Well, Travis, I believe the golf's going in the wrong direction with longer and longer golf courses. I wish the powers that be in the game would remember that length is a part of the game, but so is accuracy. And I think that's why the TPC River Highlands has always remained a player favorite, because it doesn't favor one type of player. You mentioned Bubba Watson's won there 3 times. Bubba loves to be able to see big, high curves and cuts. He's probably the greatest artist we have on the PGA Tour, because he never sees in straight lines. He sees in big, left to right, right to left, low, high. But then you look at a Ches Reavie, who is a very solid ball striker, but Ches plays pretty much a straight ball. And when you look at those 2 players, you can have flamboyant winners, ball strikers like Bubba, or very steady players, ball strikers like me. I was always a very steady, reliable ball striker, good driver, good iron player, never really too flashy a player. My mouth would get me in trouble a lot more than my driver would. But that to me, I love that. I love that type of aspect about a golf course. And what concerns me as a player moving forward in the game of golf with the 4 majors is that length is becoming the dominant factor. That's why I really love the Open Championship still. It's played on this rotation of the same golf courses. When I started playing in the Open way back, when you weren't even born yet, Travis, we played Royal St. George's, we played St. Andrews, we played Birkdale, and we still play them to this day. There are no tricks. They don't have to really prepare the golf course. You don't have to cut the greens to be much faster. You don't have to grow much rough, because there is no rough when you're playing link style, seaside type golf. So I worry about the game of golf demanding everybody hit 340, 350, 360 off the tee. I don't know how many people can do that in the real world, but I think that's what the players like about TPC River Highlands. It doesn't put the demand on the length. It puts the demand on being able to strategize your way around the golf course and hit different type shots.
Speaking of different types of shots, and I want to close this part of the interview. We got 2 questions, and Trav is going to get into the whole Brooks Bryson thing. But when you talk about Bryson DeChambeau, he loves the entertainment side of it. That's where I come from. I feel like, for me personally, what I bring to the golf world is from the entertainment side. You're the exact same way. You've always been kind of an outlier because of how much you like to entertain, in addition to playing high-level golf. If you could get some of these, not just the young kids that look like robots when they play, but even some of the veterans who I always use on this show, Patrick Cantlay as my example of, you make a birdie putt, thank you. But then you've got players that complain because they don't have the endorsement dollars that some of the other players have. How important today, 2021, is the entertainment side of golf as well?
I think the entertainment aspect of the game is huge. It just as you said, but I was lucky when I first came out. I got thrown into the mix with people like Arnold Palmer and Lee Trevino and Chichi Rodriguez. So I got to witness firsthand the players that when the ball went in the hole, they reacted. They were bigger than life, and they really wanted to bring people into the ropes. My good pal, the late great Payne Stewart, he would do the same thing. But we learned at the feet of Arnold Palmer. Arnold always told us, look, you've got to reach out behind the ropes and bring people into the ropes, not physically, but spiritually and psychologically. Sorry, I got things kicking in here. I wanted to be able to have people feel they were a part of the round and part of my world. Again, I used to do a lot of outings with Arnold Palmer and Lee Trevino, and they used to say, let's go over there and talk to these people to the left of 1, to the right of 2, over the green on 3. In between shots, it doesn't take much just to say hello to somebody. You may walk over there and see somebody who's got a shirt on with an Augusta logo and just start a conversation. Did you play Augusta or did you just buy the shirt? Did you, if you played Augusta, well, what'd you shoot? What did you think of 12? Where'd you hit it on 12? Because that 30-second exchange is going to last a career for you and a lifetime for that person. But that's the magic of Jack, of Arnold, of Gary Player, Trevino, Chi-Chi, Fuzzy. I think that was more a part of the tour back then than it is today. Again, I don't mean to be negative here, but what concerns me too are the agents. We've got a lot of agents on tour that tell the player, don't look at anybody but your caddy and look at that club and I want you to win. You don't need to deal with all these other people. And I think, well, all you have to do is look at the NBA. That's the same thing. The NBA, when you start taking yourself too seriously, that's the beginning of the end.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, we don't take ourselves very seriously here on this show. I can promise you that. I got to ask you, I mean, you got this whole Brooks and Bryson feud going on, and there's a line, I think, in everything, right? In the entertainment. And I do think they're playing into it a little bit. But I mean, I'm just curious, Peter, coming from you, how have you seen it? And is this a good thing for the game? I mean, obviously a rivalry we know is a good thing, and having that and guys going back and forth, but have they gone too far? Do you feel like, with Brooksy being called out and then him rewarding those people for being kicked out with a case of beer, and what's transpired? Give me your thoughts.
Oh, I think it's extremely unprofessional, first of all. If Arnold were still alive, I know that Arnold would pull those two guys aside, probably sit them down, grab them, and put a finger in their face, kind of like they used to do. Bob Golby, Dan Sykes, I know I'm going way back, Arnold, Trevino, they would say, look, stop that. This is not good for our game. This is not good for our organization, the PGA Tour. Again, a lot of these players live in their own bubble. Interesting to see all these players now have their own logos. These players aren't good enough and big enough or successful enough to have their own logos.
I say the same thing.
The one thing that now Arnold had a logo because he was Arnold Palmer. Greg Norman's got the best logo in sports, the shark, the colorful shark, because he's Greg Norman. Jack Nicklaus, the bear. Unless you've won a lot of tournaments, you don't need your own logo. If you want to create a logo and put it in the back of your hat, that's fine. But that's the beginning of, hey, look at me. I'm really important. And that's the one thing about the Brooks Bryson thing. I think it's silly. I think it's childish. I don't think it's that good, but I'm not gonna sit either of those guys down because they know better. They know it's distracting. It's distracting to their game. Bryson and Brooks are both world-class players, great players, and both great guys. Travis, you know them. Mm-hmm. Jonathan, I don't know if you know them, but they're great people. And again, I think it's a distraction. I don't know if it's a distraction from the pressure for them, but I think pretty soon when it starts to integrate itself into your daily routine, like, hey, Brooksy, Bryce, all that kind of stuff, I think, okay, that's it. We're done. We're moving on. They're going to be on the Ryder Cup team together this fall. And again, I know Stricker. I talked to Stricker, and he doesn't like it. He's the captain of the Ryder Cup team for the United States. He's not happy with it because it's one of those things that as a captain and as a player on the Ryder Cup team, I've been on 2 Ryder Cup teams. You don't want anything in the way. You want to be able to focus on your golf and beating your opponent, period. That's it. And I hope that come this fall, come September, that's what Brooks and Bryson and everybody on the team is going to be focusing on.
Especially the way the United States has really struggled in the Ryder Cup the last several years, and specifically 2 years ago as well. So certainly they need to get on the same page. So many great insights from the 2-time Travelers champion, Peter Jacobsen, this week here on Cash Out with the Coaches. I'll tell you what, that interview could have gone absolutely for another hour. Thank you to Peter Jacobsen for coming on today. I'll take Phil Mickelson's stories all day long. And by the way, he's plus 7,000 if I haven't already mentioned that on the show, which I think I have. All right, Trav, it's time to get into the real reason people tune into this show, and that is to cash tickets. And last week, how many do we have?
Hey, 4. You had 3.
4.
We might add. You had 3, and you won our personal bets. We're back to 0.
Yeah, I like.
And then
that
I cashed the Louis top 20. But hey, 4 more tickets. That's the way we do it.
That's right. They're always waiting for us at the pay window. All right, here's what we do when we give you our picks each and every week. We have a fictitious $100. We chop it up between 5 different picks, 2 head-to-heads, a top 20, a tournament winner, and a wild card play, which can be anything on the board. So, Trav, let's start with your first head-to-head matchup, which is the meat and potatoes of what you should be betting at home. Grind it out. Be patient. This is the most important thing. Trav, go.
All right, we're getting back on the train here this week. Koepka over my boy, Tony Finau, who is not playing that good of golf right now and does not play well here at TPC River Highlands, which I think it kind of fits his skill set, really. I know it takes the driver out of his hand a little bit, but he's missed the cut the last 2 years here, as Tony Finau has. Now, how motivated is Koepka going to be? He makes the run at the U.S. Open. And I got to tell you, I was probably as surprised with Koepka bogeying 2 of the last 3 holes, particularly the par 5 18th, as I was the 44 from his brother, Bryson DeChambeau. But Koepka just, to me, when I look at these 2 players, I mean, right now, Koepka is he just looks like the much better player than Tony Finau. The putting woes of Finau has started to show up a little bit. Missed cut at the U.S. Open. His putter wasn't necessarily the biggest problem, but the 2 weeks before that, we're back in that -4 and 5 putting again for Finau. So I'm a little bit concerned with Tony right now. I don't think this is his best stretch of golf. Koepka clearly can turn it up and play well. His brother's here. I don't know if he's going to be like all cylinders, let's win this thing. But I just think right now, Koepka head and shoulders is playing so much better than Tony Finau.
I'm having a really hard time rooting for Brooks Koepka.
Oh, I know. I get it.
But it's feeding into my betting, because the one thing you never want to do is bet with your heart, not with your
That's
head.
right.
And I had in my 20s when I didn't have any help like we do now. But I know sometimes he's a good play. I know he was a good play last week. I just can't root for him right now. And that's causing me not to pick him. And I hate that. But that's the way
you don't have to. You can root for Finau against me, see?
I don't like his play either. Last week, full disclosure, I had a bunch of tickets on Bryson over Brooks. So that meltdown on the back 9 at Torrey cost me quite a bit of money, real money, and I had a great weekend. So I didn't lose, but man, it could have been a phenomenal weekend if Bryson could have all he had to do, he didn't have to win, just finish at 2 under. And at one point he was at 5, so it is what it is. All right, my first head-to-head looks a little something like this. This guy is from the Northeast. He went to St. John's. This is the biggest tournament of his year outside of any majors that he plays in. And I'm talking about Keegan Bradley. -105 over Si-Woo Kim. Keegan gets up for this event. He loves this event. His family comes to this event. And whenever I have a chance to play him, and you know how I feel about Si-Woo, he's gotten his game tight. But he still is one of those players that you don't know week to week which Si-Woo Kim you're going to get. I think this week, coming off the major, there's a natural letdown, and I'm going to take a player who has a natural get up. And the get up is what I want with Keegan Bradley. So lock him in -105.
Well, Bradley finished second here in 19, 8th and 17, so he can certainly get it going. I think the thing to note with Bradley is 6 of the last 8 tournaments, he's in the positive in putting, which is a huge stat for him. So yeah, I think he probably feels pretty good coming in here to play in front of his family at this course. Si-Woo, we know, is a Pete Dye specialist. So, this will be a good matchup here for sure. But I would love to see Keegan continue the good play, in particularly with the putter.
Oh, I would love to see that too. So hopefully that can continue this week. All right, second head-to-head matchup, courtesy Travis Fulton. What do you got, Travis?
All right, let's go. Abraham Answer. I'm back with you here. I think there's certain courses that kind of fit, obviously, certain players, the right time. Who the hell is Patrick Neiman, Cody? Joaquin Neiman. That's his American brother, Patrick. Look, let me go ahead and put 2,000 on Abraham Answer to beat Patrick Neiman.
That's an incredible number for him. That's an incredible number.
All right.
Wow.
So, Joaquin Neiman.
Oh my God.
who I think I said that right, was at the US Open, and he played pretty good. Neiman was there. And I look at Abraham Answer now coming over to this golf course here, and he did miss the cut last week. I get that. The 4 weeks leading up to that, though, and I'm going to look past the US Open. I don't think the US Open is necessarily made for an Abraham Answer. I need him to continue to do the things that he's been doing up to the point of the US Open. You're seeing really steady improvement here from Abraham in all phases of the game. His short game can still get a little bit clunky, but I'm going to read this off to you where he is right now on the PGA Tour. Off the tee, strokes gained, he's 29th. Approach, 30th. Putting, 48th. Tee to green, 29th. I mean, this is some heady stuff here. Again, short game, not his best. It hurt him last week, US Open. You're not going to have those kinds of shots here at the Travelers. So I'm going to look past that. I think Neiman obviously is a very good player, but I just feel like a first win for Abraham Answer is coming soon. Answer over Joaquin Neiman.
Boy, I tell you what, sometimes you have matchups you just don't see coming. I mean, you really, really do. And that was one that surprised me. It really was. This is a guy who's trending, and you can never go bad. And it really feels like the TPC River Highlands, is a great fit for the game of a guy like Abraham Answer. It really, really is.
Yeah.
So I don't mind this play. I don't know if I'll put real money on it because there's a lot of matchups that I like, but I'm keeping my eye on this one. I am keeping my eye on this one. All right, I couldn't believe the number I got for my second head-to-head matchup. And it's probably because you already alluded to it here on the show that Bryson has 3 top 10s here at the Travelers. But DJ is your defending champion. DJ, I think the way he played last weekend, he's not happy with. The fact that nobody's talking about him. The fact that Jon Rahm took over his spot as the number 1 player in the world. For all of these reasons, I think Dustin Johnson wants to say to the entire golfing universe, I'm still the best player in the world. And what better way to do that than come back to a place where you just won a year ago that led you to 3 wins on the PGA Tour, which led you to the FedEx Cup for the first time in your career. And it all started this week a year ago. So why not start a really great summer, heading into the Ryder Cup, heading into the FedEx Cup playoffs with another great performance this week, and you're only laying 5 cents over a guy who just melted down in front of the entire world at the U.S. Open? Oh, give me DJ all day over Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, it's an interesting play. I was on DJ last week. I think he's trending. I do. Perhaps. I think you make a good point, Coach. He's now the number 2 player in the world. So, he had it for a while there as the number 1 player, and now he's bumped down. So, I think he is moving the right way. I think Bryson, he's got to get better with the approach wedges. I mean, he is hitting some awful approach wedge shots. His touch, I don't know. It just, things aren't adding up there, and he's going to need that a lot here this week. He's not going to overpower this place. There's certainly going to be some forced situations off the tee. But he's got to get cleaner in the approach game, in the touch. And when he does that, man, Bryson's going to be really tough to beat. But right now, it's not where it needs to be. Number 2 at Torrey Pines, if I had to see a guy drive it down to 60 yards and then miss the green,
crazy,
is just nuts.
Yeah.
It just seemed like he's got 70 into it. Like, we're not talking 120. He's got like 70. And he's hitting it to 40 feet. It's like, come on. It's unacceptable. And I don't know what it is. If it's, you got to do something different with the wedges, maybe he's got to cut those down, or he's neglecting it practice-wise. It's just not clean.
Yeah, he would probably argue with you that, oh, hey, I had the lead on the back nine of the U.S. Open. Why do I need to fix it? Because of what happened after you had the lead at the U.S. Open. It'd also be interesting to see if he, like he's done in years past, is able to dial it back. Because a lot of these holes, as you know, Trav, they get thinner the farther down you go, because there has to be a defense of some kind at this particular course. There's also, holes on the back nine that as you water down the right, train tracks down the left, and as it gets closer to the green, it goes like this. So you've got to dial it back. You wonder if his patience was tested so severely a week ago that he's going to be impatient this week. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I think if he plays with Brooks, which I hope he does, I think it'll affect Bryson more than Brooks.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. And then I would double down on this bet. If they play together, I double down. All right, let's move to our top 20 pick of the week. What name are you going to give me, Trav?
Well, I think we may have heard this guy, plus 138. Yeah, I'm doubling down. Abraham Answer. It's time. We're into the summer. Let's get the tequila flowing. He's got a nice tequila, Fletcher Cool. I'll go ahead and give him a little props. Smooth. It's refreshing. And it's time for him now. I think a top 20. Last week I said with Louis, I was like, this is the safest play I think I've made all year. And I think this one's coming in probably as number 2 or 3. I think Answer's playing that good. I could see him going. I could see Answer going on a tear here. I could see like 64-65 from Answer. Get some separation out there. And then he could even falter a little bit into a top 20. I think he's playing that good. 16 greens, 25 putts. Let's go. Sign me up for that. Let's get that first win. If not, let's get inside the top 20. He was T11 last year here, T8 in 2019. So clearly, course history, the way he's playing, top 20? I mean, come on. Let's just make it 3 years in a row.
I like it. You're getting plus money.
Yeah.
And routinely, just so people know who may not be familiar with the Travelers, almost every single year, the lead up to the first round is a 64 or 63, which is 7 under. That's routinely.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do on this particular course. I like that play. I'm going to go with a former champ, and I'm going to go with a guy who is playing really good golf every single week, regardless of the tournament, whether it's the U.S. Open or something else. This guy is showing up. Give me Kevin Streelman plus 150. My odds are better than Abraham Answers, which shocks me.
Mm-hmm.
Higher than Abraham Answers, which shocks me because of the way Streelman's playing right now. He should be right around plus 120, plus 130 for a top 20 pick. This is incredible value for a guy who has won here before, 7 straight birdies to finish off his victory, and his form right now is really, really incredible. Lock it in, Kevin Streelman, my top 20.
4 top 20s coming in a row.
There you go.
And at some big ballparks. We're talking PGA. We're talking U.S. Open. We're talking Memorial. Colonial's in there. Kevin Streelman's playing some really good golf, folks. He's not just being competitive at places like this and Colonial. He's being competitive at Torrey Pines at 7,600 yards at Kiawah Island.
Yeah, that's not a game.
No.
He's figuring it out, and that's what you have to do. Kevin Kisner famously just jokes about not being able to win, but top 20s pay a lot of money. Kevin Streelman's figured out a way to get top 20.
Yeah,
that's what you do to get those FedEx Cup points and be in position for the big payday coming up in the FedEx Cup playoffs. All right, it's that time of the show where Travis excels. He's not just won one winner here on the show, not just 2. He has picked 3 different winners since we started Cash Out in November. 7 months is it. What do you got for us today, Trav?
Well, to win, Garrick. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going with Higo. Although Higo is in
the field.
Higo is in the field, and so is Guido, right? And we've been talking about these, and Wilco's not playing. But anyway, I'm going to go with Russell Henley. You remember back in 2009 when Ches finished 3rd at the U.S. Open, and then he comes around the next week, and he's like, "Wow, Ches," and he wins the Travelers Championship, and he was hanging out. He was really up there till the end in the U.S. Open back in 2019.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Henley here to keep the good play going and those vibes here. Plus 5,500 is Russell Henley, and I'm going to take some odds here. Could certainly go to the chalk, but I felt like appropriate here with Henley. I think Henley really hit the ball exceptionally well. His iron game was spot on last week. We're talking in the +7 range. Short game was good. The putting was good. He was hitting on all cylinders. Now, he faded a little bit. He finishes outside the top 10, 13th. I get that, but that's not exactly the venue that you would think a Russell Henley would come out and win on at a 7,600 Torrey Pines. So I'm going to go back to him here. Let's keep the good vibes going. Let's have that same kind of ball striking week, hit the driver perhaps a little bit better, and then make just a couple more putts. And I think we're going to be there again late on a Sunday. So I'm going recent form. Henley he's had some good finishes here in the past. And why not? Let's pull another Ches Reavie 2 years later and get this thing done.
Yeah, last week was certainly an outlier for Russell Henley, and they told it on the broadcast how he played here like 10 years ago when he was a rookie, or 8 years ago. He hated Torrey Pines so much.
Yep.
He swore he would never come back and play it again.
Yeah.
And he did. He hasn't. But you can't skip the U.S. Open. So he had to play it and certainly played it well, even though he absolutely hates the course. This is a course that sets up incredibly well for a game like his. Dynamic iron play, swag, confidence, love to play, and you're getting him at over +5,000. Boy, that's worth a little sprinkle to me.
Yeah, no, T6 and 18, T11 and 16. So he knows how to get around here. I think you take the way he played last week and you insert it here, right? And you make a couple more putts, he's going to be there late on Sunday again.
No question. I like that a lot. I'm going to go with the guy who's played here 10 straight years. And to me, because of the shots you have to hit on this particular golf course, having a nice little right to left figures to be the right ball flight. I'm going to go with Patrick Reed. And there's a few different reasons why I like Patrick Reed. You know me, you're a numbers guy, Trav. I'm more of a gut guy. I'm more of a feel guy. And in 4 months, we've got a little thing called the Ryder Cup. 2 months, we got a little thing called the FedEx Cup playoffs. We also have a little thing called the Olympics, right? Patrick Reed is motivated to start playing well, motivated to maximize his finishes, motivated to be on all of these teams, and right there at the end for the 15 mil in that FedEx Cup playoff trophy. So for all of those reasons, I don't care what he's done here in the past. Not bad. But I think his motivation gets him locked in when it's really, really hard for a lot of players to they come here because it's fun. You said it. It's a fun golf course. But they don't think, I've got to win this week. Patrick Reed is one of those guys that does. And I believe he will raise the trophy on Sunday. And our baseline is +2,000. Nothing below that. This is just above that number. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a good play. I considered it too. The one thing I wanted to see, he started working with David Ledbetter earlier in the year. And I think to get more accurate, in particular with his iron game, and I think he has. His iron game has been pretty solid. PGA Championship, gain 3, U.S. Open, gain 3, Memorial, gain 5.7. Those are big numbers for Patrick Reed. We know he's going to get it done around the green and the putting, and his splits on bent grass, which we're on this week, are great. If he can hit the ball, if he can have the approach game like he's had it his last 2 times out, I think Patrick's going to be a real contender here. I think it's a good play, and I think the work he's doing with Ledbetter, there's some incremental gains being had.
No, you're exactly right. And the biggest thing he's trying to fix is creating a left to right shot, because that's been the biggest issue.
Look at you. I love it. I love it. This is nice. Yeah, this is growth. I see it. That's good.
Well, he understands there's certain hole locations he just can't get to. He just hasn't been able to do, right? So if you're on the right side of the fairway and the pin is back right and there's a bunker there, what do? You got to have a fade. And he's never had a fade before. So I think this is really going to help him moving forward, even be more competitive than he's already been.
Yeah.
All right, final bet of the week. It's a wild card bet. It can be anything on the board. What do you like this week?
Well, I'll give you another name here. Austin Eckroat, top 30 DraftKings Sportsbook.
What?
Yeah, +300. All right, let me educate you once again on the next up-and-coming player, perhaps. You go to, Austin went to Oklahoma State. And when he was a freshman, that's when Victor Hovland, Matthew Wolf, Christian Ventura, I mean, that was a really good team. I mean, really good team. And he played as a freshman and he played well. I got to know Austin last year. We did a college showcase event for the Golf Channel. Talked to his coach, Alan Bratton, for a while. And you've watched him in college. You know, he's a top 5 player in college, PGA Tour University. He's turned pro now. And I think he's got the pro game. I think he's long enough off the tee, but I think his iron game's pretty darn sharp. And I think he's a good putter. I think he's got a nice short game. Obviously, there's going to be a learning curve here for him as he learns these courses. He's played in a couple events. He missed, where was he at? So he played, hold on one second here. He was Valero. That's it. Valero, Texas Open. He played there, missed the cut. Didn't make any putts, but I think this is a good place for him. The Travelers, kind of more strategic. I see him a little bit more that way, like an Abraham Answer, perhaps, kind of similar physique and types of games. So I think Eckroat's going to be a good pro, and I would not be surprised here. He makes the cut, climbs his way into the top 30. He also played at OHL last year where he finished 12th, which is pretty heady stuff coming out as one of your first tournaments.
We asked Peter Jacobsen earlier in the show, what is the biggest reason why the Travelers get such a good field? Yes, it's the community, as he said, but the other thing is they have very strategically over the years and smartly been one of those tournaments that gives the sponsors exemptions to these young dudes.
Yeah.
Famous Patrick Cantlay shot a 60-year sponsors exemption back when he was coming out.
Yep.
You name a young player, they've gotten a sponsors exemption here, which is why they come back and why the field is so good. It's very, very smart.
It is.
He fits right into what you're talking about.
He does. Mm-hmm.
Right into that. The Travelers, big kudos. And they've had the same guys running it for years and years and years. They get it. It's an incredibly well-run tournament.
I love it. Eckroat, Guido, you got Higo. I mean, this is fun. This is fun. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot of good young players that are going to be mixed in this week. I am not going with a young player for my wild. However, I'm going to go with a guy who played really well last week. And for a couple of minutes, with everybody falling off a cliff, we thought maybe getting in the clubhouse at -3 early would have been good enough. It would have been good enough. Ultimately, it was not, as we know. But Harris English played really, really well over the weekend. Very quietly played really well. I think he's starting to get his game back to where it was when he won in Hawaii earlier this year. So I'm going to take a flyer because of the number, +500. I'll take a shot at a top 10 here for Harris English.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet. He's getting it back. I think he went on a little mini vacation after his win.
Yeah.
He was playing great golf, and deservedly so. Good for him. But he seems to be putting the pieces back together. Could have won Palmetto if it wasn't for a lefty from South Africa. But
oh my God,
we'll go past that.
All right, Roger. We've had an incredible show. Your final thoughts as we head into the post-U.S. Open part of the schedule and head into an incredibly busy summer. What do you got?
Yeah, we are right in the meat of it right now. Travelers Championship. This is a great event. It really is. You can hear Peter speak to it with, from the heart, like just loves it with passion. And I know these players do too. It's a fun course. It really is. It's the layout. Pete Dye is one of my favorites because you're going to see such a wide range of names here in the leaderboard. And probably more than that, Coach, we're going to see more birdies, right? We saw it last week, the carnage. Now we get the birdies flowing again. 64, 65, 63, 66, 60. It's coming back at it. So I'm excited. I love this little stretch here of golf coming out of the U.S. Open and then the build up to the Open Championship.
In all likelihood, you'll be looking at a winning score in the range of 14 under to 20 under. Something like that is usually where they get to be. All right, I am fired up.
Yep.
I love the tournament. The only thing that stinks about living on the West Coast where I live now, the only thing is not being able to go to the Travelers. But anything else, they can have it. I love SoCal. All right, another great show for our incredible staff, Samantha, Cody, for Travis, our incredible partners and sponsors of Sports Pub Media as we continue to grow I am the coach. And remember, if you're going to cash out every single week, why not cash out with the coaches? Good luck.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's good? This is the coach. You may know me from PGA Tour Live, the Golf Channel, or even ESPN. I wanted to interrupt this YouTube video real quick to tell you how to get the best and most entertaining golf betting content every single week, and it's all for free. It's called Cash Out with the Coaches. I've teamed up with legendary golf instructor Travis Fulton, and he's also a PGA Tour insider, to bring you the unscripted, unfiltered PGA Tour betting talk and analysis. All you have to do is subscribe to Sports Pub's new channel, and you'll get access to our Cash Out with the Coaches show before every single PGA Tour event. You can also play along with the coaches, too. We don't hold anything back on this free show. And all you have to do is subscribe to Sports Pub's channel with the button on the video, and you'll have access to every single show. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Can't wait to see you on the channel.